I don't know. All right, so we're good.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, I think we're live now.
So hello everyone, welcome to the Resilient Perceiver, an art show dedicated to displaying the perseverance, resilience, and many stages of battling addiction. So today we have a panel of Alex, Maya, AJ, and myself, Isabella. And we're gonna ask the artists questions about their interpretation and meaning of their art pieces. So hello everyone, welcome to the Resilient Perceiver, an art show dedicated to displaying the perseverance, resilience,
I'm so
and many stages.
That's why it's. I was like, "Where's that coming from?"
I was like, I hear myself again. No, you're good.
Yeah. I was like, "Is there another Isabel here?" Okay.
I was like,
so I'm gonna go ahead and stop us sharing this right now. And one of the things that I love about art shows is kind of like the entry to the art show where you get like all the hors d'oeuvres and the cheeses, like a little bit of drinking, you know. So to kind of substitute that, since it's all virtual, I'm going to go ahead and share a video, which is, I think, like my personal favorite animation from Disney. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing really quick. And let me see if I can pull this up. And then I'll stop the music. Okay. And let me go ahead and share this and let me know if you can see my screen. Great. So here it goes.
Oh, Cousteau was right. Oh, yeah. Oh, amazing. Each flavor was totally unique. But combine one flavor with another, and something new was created. I brought you something to... Ah! No! Spit that out right now! Oh, I have got to teach you about food. Close your eyes. Now, take a bite of this. No! Don't just hork it down! Here. And chew it slowly. Only think about the taste. See?
Not really.
Creamy, salty, sweet, and oaky nuttiness. You detect that?
Oh, I'm detecting nuttiness.
Close your eyes. Now taste this. Whole different thing, right? Sweet, crisp, slight tang on the finish.
Okay.
Now, try them together.
I think I'm getting a little something there. It might be the nuttiness.
See?
Could be the tang.
That's it. Now, imagine every great taste in the world being combined into infinite combinations of tastes that no one has tried yet. Discoveries to be made.
I think. You lost me again.
All right, so that was it. So hopefully that kind of puts everyone in the mood in terms of like an art show and everything that encompasses an art show. So we can go ahead and get started. I first wanted to thank the artists, especially like right off the bat, for participating in this event. It means a lot to us, the committee, that you took your time to be here, first of all, and also to share your art with us. So Isabella, did you want to go ahead and get started with the questions?
Yes. Maya, did you wanna? Is she here? Does she want to jump in and ask a question?
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. If you wanted to start asking the first couple questions to whichever artist of your choice.
Okay, I guess I'll ask the first question to you, Eugenio. That is your name?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question I would ask was, what compels you to create?
Do I have to answer?
Yes, of course.
Okay, well, it's a very hard question because nobody asks a question like that to an artist, you know? because the artist, the only thing he has to do is just to do his work, whatever it is, to paint, sing, to compose, whatever. And I think the manifestation of the work is, in a way, the answer. It's just an impulse. It's just something that is completely with no reason. I mean, if you want to break it down and know the origins of creation, is something that comes in within the person in his DNA or whatever. And it's like a way to lose from some kind of oppression and then to breathe and to create. So that's it. Did I
Thank you for
answer
sharing
your
the.
question?
Yes.
Yes, thank you
Can
very
everyone
much.
see my screen?
Now you can answer me if I ask you what do you think about my answer.
Well, I think you do have a point. I think that question is very broad, and you know, we are compelled by life itself, and everyone has different motivations.
Yeah.
Well, I would say there is the same motivation in any creator, in music or in painting or in whatever, is the same motivation, something that comes in within. It has no, really has no explanation. As I said, something that wants to get loose and breathe and create. It doesn't mean to make money or to create in order to make money. It's something that has to do with some kind of a necessity, you see.
That's a really good point. In terms of the image or the work that you decided to share for this specific event, what like why did you decide to pick that art piece for this event? Given that our event this whole week has been dedicated to learning more about the brain and spreading the concept of like learning more about the brain to the community, why did you pick the piece that you did?
Okay, first of all, I didn't create this piece especially for this show. This piece was picked by us, you and me, from our collection in the wonderful exposition of art that it is that you can find in the website. So that picture, if I remember, was created in 1984. So at that point, I had some kind of a feverish need in order to create images just coming out of my necessity to show, to draw. And I remember that in one sitting, I produced probably 50 or 60 different drawings, and all of them were related to the same thing. If you can analyze the picture, you can see this head and this brainstorm coming into from somewhere, and that's what it is. It's just you can see the hand of the painter or the hand of the artist in one of the of the spaces there, writing, and then like an apparition, all these images coming like birds or like something out of space, and then getting onto the paper. So that's what it is. The need to come with that image related to the brain. You see.
Well, thank you. So let's go ahead and move on to Martin, can we go ahead and ask you the same question? Like, what compels you to draw, or to, not to draw, but to create?
Yes. Okay. So for me, ever since I was like a child. So basically, I've had this confusion as to why people are kind of afraid of dying and to death. And so basically, the reason as to why I create art, I feel like my message is to kind of blur the lines between death and life, and to help people start to realize that actually dying isn't that like it's not so okay. So the way that I view death, I view it as the start to another chapter in your life, because your life to me isn't finite to this basically to your life's era. So I believe that you basically live on in many other different ways. But yes, so how I said, my objective in my art is to basically make people feel more comfortable with the idea of dying.
That's a very interesting point. One of the pieces, and one of the pieces of this series that we uploaded to the, like, to Facebook and Instagram, um, was one of the ones that I picked as like my entry, and the the message behind the whole thing also has to do with life, and we can go to it when once we get to like our, or the piece that I submitted. But that's something that also is shared in that piece, that it's kind of like this infinite continuation. Like, even before you were born, like you were some sort of, you had some sort of embodiment, whether it was like metaphysical or whatever it was, and then you kind of come to be, and then after your physical body dies, it just continues, and it's this like never-ending process. So that's very interesting, that these themes are in your pieces. So thank you. And actually, to go along with the same question, like, why did you pick this specific piece for this art show, Resilient Perceived?
I'm going to start with stating that it's quite a coincidence actually, because I finished this piece about a month to a month and a half ago, and it does have to do with the topic about of like addiction and society, and how society basically creates all of this chaos. But okay, so this painting I had started around like almost a year ago. So the way that I paint is that every 2 months or so, I get like a spur of creative, like 2 or 3 hours, and I just work on it, and then I forget it, and then it happens again every like the next month or whatever. But yeah, so basically, I had no I had no idea of like what this painting was going to be. It just sort of came to be. Like the original idea of this painting was actually to just create the heart being stabbed with the dagger, and then everything else just, it was just like spur of the moment. Like I kind of want to draw, I kind of want to paint bubbles now, and like stuff like that. But it all kind of came together to form a message that that I could decipher at the end, because I don't create with a certain message. Kind of like I create, then at the end I see what I created, and then that's when I connect the things, and I'm like, okay, so this is why my brain decided to do this. This is a message that I want to portray to the world with this painting.
Nice. So that's pretty similar to what Eugenio had said about
Yeah.
you really ask an artist, like, why do you create? It kind of just happens. It's like innate thing that, I mean, that just happens. So nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next artist, Marco, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. And also, by the way, are you all seeing the image? Yeah. Okay, great. I'm gonna
Yes.
stop sharing and then I'll share Marco's. And again, even though we've been saying that you don't ask an artist what your I guess reason to create is, I'll ask you the same question. Maybe you have a different answer. Let me go ahead and share yours. Also, Marco, is it possible to unmute on your phone?
There you go. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, no worries. I was just double checking to make sure that it's possible. And okay. Yeah, so again, that question, like what compels you to create?
Well, for sure, I would say that I agree with both artists. Obviously, the first artist, he's older gentleman with life experience, and the second artist, Alejandro, I'm sorry, not Alejandro, Martin. He's a very young guy, right? So when I was a kid, since I can remember, I was drawing on the floor, you know, and we are compelled to our own expressions. So I agree with both views for sure. Um, so what compels me now? I'll give you a little background information about myself. So I grew up in El Paso, and at the age of 17, I joined the Navy. And the reason why I joined the military is because I needed money to go to school. Okay, straight out of necessity. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I needed to get out of here to be able to um, create some kind of alimentary um, provisions for my need, right? In other words, I needed money to get out of my situation. I didn't necessarily grow up in the best of ways. Um, I was born in Juarez, in a very poor neighborhood in the Chaveña district down there. I was born in a home. And so I saw a lot of dysfunction since I was very small. So when you grow up that way, you need to be able to express yourself. And sometimes you don't have the words to do it. I'm not a poet, I'm not a dancer, I'm not a writer. So I'm a visual artist, right? So I had to express it through visuals. And so since very young, I sat on the floor and drew and drew and drew out of necessity, right? Um, and so as the years went by, I joined the Navy. I got my money out of that. I got college funding for that. I went to community college. I got my associates there, and then I was able to progress my life very quickly after that because of my talent, right? And so I ended up in New York City, going to Columbia University, to Yale, Harvard. I was offered all kinds of different scholarships because of my talent, right? So for me, it was a necessity to be able to escape. But escape what? Because no matter what you do, you can't run away from yourself, okay? You can't escape yourself, right? So um, art has always been a way of expressing myself, but also be able to use it in a way that it can shift my life, right? So I went to art school in New York City. I got my master's there. I was a master printer. Um, I studied under the best artists in the world, right? And so the problem is, I went through 9/11 as well. I was at 9/11 watching those buildings fall right on top of me. And that was a very triggering experience. Let's just put it that way. I'm not the type of person to run away from things. So instead of going away from the you know the buildings coming down, I went forward.
Is the cat?
Say again.
Sorry,
Um,
no, you're fine.
nah, I can't do anything about your cat. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I'm one of those guys that goes right into the fire, right? And so after that, it shifted my mentality. Like I said, I was in the military, and my specialty was medicine. Okay, so I went into imaging, and I went into the cardiology world. I went away from the arts for many, many years, and it was a necessity as well. And so we're talking about what is it that drives you to make art? It's the same for me. The same thing that drove me to the military, the same thing that drove me to create art, the same thing that drove me to be on call to save people's lives, for years and years and years. Uh, it finally ended up back in El Paso. Right now, I'm a professor of art at a local college, a community college where I started, and it's the same necessity. It's not a different necessity. You see, it's about really getting to know who you are at your core. And I'm sure I won't be a professor for too long, because the reason why I moved here was to create this big art project that I'm creating right now. What drives us to make art? Um, it's our nature, it's our nature. And we just find similarities throughout time, throughout history, throughout our fellow members of society now, that drives us to communicate our time, right? So we're like reporters, visual reporters of our day and age. And that's what drives me, because it really, you can't run away from yourself.
Right.
I've been to like 56 countries in my lifetime.
Oh, wow.
I've lived in Japan, um, in Italy, all over the United States. I can mention many, many places, but you can't run away from yourself. So, a way to express yourself is to give it all in a work of art. Doesn't matter which way it is. You want to dance it, you want to write it, you want to make an image, fine. I don't even consider myself an artist, to be honest with you. I don't. I don't. The only thing I would say is I'm good with my hands, That's it. You know.
And your eyes too, because this is very
Well,
important piece.
it takes acuity, right? But it also takes acuity to do some surgical procedures to save somebody's life.
Right.
Or right now, I'm building this gigantic art complex with my own hands, and I'm not a construction worker. I'm not an architect, but I designed it myself. And so artists are just very creative people, and we just use our talent to make stuff. That's it. It's simple. You don't have to glorify it. You don't have to look down on it. Um, whether you're creating quilts or I don't know, whatever it is that you want to make.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah, artists are. It's like saying human. What kind of human are you? There's tons of humans, right?
Right.
So there's tons of artists. It's
Exactly.
it's part of our nature. That's what I would say.
Nice. In this piece, it's called Icarus and his son,
Yeah.
Isuipo, right? So you talked about 9/11, and I see a background of destruction. Is it somehow related to what you experienced during that?
I don't think it's necessarily that. If it
Okay.
is, it's subconscious,
Okay. Okay.
and so this piece is complex. It has live parts in it. It has a whole mantis or mantid colony in it. you know, um, It has pieces like of early 1960s work, like Joseph Cornell, Robert Rauschenberg kind of work. It's an oil painting, um, but it's more of a medieval piece if you see it really. Um, but that the piece is more like if I were a time traveler, okay, and I were a hoarder at the same time, that's what where it's coming from.
So collecting a bunch of things from time as you
Yeah, and
like dump in.
this has to do with addiction, medical, what do you call it, dysfunction and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
this piece I started it in 2016 when I moved back to El Paso to build this place.
Okay.
But it doesn't necessarily have one definitive direction. It's
Okay.
more it's a broader piece. There's tons of stuff that you can't see in online, or
Hmm.
you can't see in an image online. There's actually currency from all over the world in the back of it that you can't see through the screens.
Interesting.
Um, and so for me, it's actually a very positive piece. The average person would probably look at it that doesn't is not in the art world, let's say, and say, "Oh my God, that's a horrific piece." It's like, why would you, you know? But for me, it's very
Right.
positive because it's a take on the mother and child, except for it's like a father and child. And
Right.
Lazarus is a person that came back from the dead, you know. And so that's the only thing that bothers me about the piece is having to title it. Because when
Mm,
you title something, you automatically give it a place of reference. And I
right.
would rather my work to be a little bit more ambiguous so that everybody can come in, you know.
Right.
And whether you hate it is fine, whether you like it or it's not, whether it interests you, it's fine or not. So it's a Rorschach piece, which is tied to psychology, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah,
Well, thank you very much for that.
no worries.
Um, oh, Carla has a question. Carla, I'll go ahead and read your question. It says, in my psychology class, out of motivation and emotion, I heard about flow, a state of mind in where when your high skills match a high challenge.
Mm.
Some people describe this state of flow as the zone, in where people get disconnected from the outer world. Some people described this state as not listening, cheering of the words, lose sense of time, or ignore some physiological needs like using the restroom or hunger without noticing. So my question is, what is your particular state of flow while you work on your art? And how do you feel?
So if that's a question to me, um, I just feel exactly what that definition is. You don't really feel a sense of time when you're working. I'm sure every artist here has felt that way, right? Where
Don't
you
eat.
could be working on 8 hours on a piece and you think it's like 2 hours, right? Obviously, a piece like this is more planned because
Mhm.
it took me about 16 months to raise the whole mantis army. I had to find a female in California, and then a male came from nowhere when she was just dating, right? And then they had a bunch of babies, and I had to collect all the molts. Um, I had to collect a lot of the vials, this and that. So
Interesting.
even if this piece took forever to make, um, it's not a time that is measured by a clock, right?
Right.
It's a different kind of time. So I think that's a very important time, especially in this time we live in, because we live in difficult times, right? We live during a pandemic, um, and this piece is close to that sense. I was thinking more of the pandemics that happened, in the 1100s, the 1400s, right? That was more my reference, but it just happened to coincide with this time.
Hmm.
Um, And then you have the obvious mushrooms, the medication vials, all of these things that are symbolic, but I don't want to attach something to that. I want it to be personal to the viewer,
I
just
get.
so they could find something in there, whether it's grotesque or whether it's beautiful or whatever. Now I see it more as a viewer, and I see it as a, for me it's a much more hopeful image rather than a dark image, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and move on. Maya, I think you can go ahead and take the floor. I'll go ahead and stop sharing this image.
Yeah, so I guess I'll ask the same question to Thomas. So the question was, what compels you to create? And if you'd like to add on to that, maybe you could add what compelled you to create this specific piece.
Well, what compels me to create was, I guess, I grew up in a pretty like toxic environment. My mother was still going through a lot of problems when I was a kid. My dad wasn't around. I was a pretty unsocial guy, so I kind of always grew up like alone in my head. And I grew up in Tampa, which there's a lot of problems with, pills and stuff down there. So my issues led to me, struggling with addiction for a long time to painkillers to ease the pain. And I struggled with that on and off for probably 10 years before finding art, and like that gave me another way to escape my like problems and express the issues that I'm feeling inside. And when you start doing that, you start realizing that other people are going through the same things, and you can relate, and you can also inspire people, which is an amazing thing that comes from doing art. So like my paintings are just about expression from like deep within inside me.
Um, there was so for this piece, you said that the title is Breathe. And in your art statement, you said that like whenever you're feeling anxious or something, um,
Hmm.
just breathe. And it kind of like it made me remember of one of my favorite songs, Breathe by Telepop Music. I don't know if anyone's heard it, but it just keeps repeating the word breathe, just breathe. And so for you, like, was that kind of something that you would do whenever you would like try to get away from those 10 years that you were trying to, or
Yeah.
you were stuck? Okay.
Yeah, it was just a way to like, because I needed to find another way to escape the pain other than, you know, drugs.
Right.
So, because that's not helping anything, that's making your pain worse
Hmm.
because you feel inadequate. It hurts your family. So I was actually inspired by Banksy, and like I was just like I thought it was so inspiring, and I just went and bought some canvas, and then it was just like it changed my life. Like I was able to escape the addictions, and I had like something that I was doing that made me feel like good about myself instead of bad.
Um, yeah, thank you. Isabel, did you have a question?
Yes, I did have a question. So I see a lot of different colors and swirls and the way the painting strokes. Can you explain a little bit about the components of the painting?
Well, I've always just used acrylic paints, and I use various tools to paint. Like I'll use, a pencil if it's all I have, just to spread the paint in, an expressive way. I don't usually have a plan when I start painting. I just start like putting paint on canvas, and then something will happen.
Do you
Okay.
surprise yourself at the very end? Like, wow, this is not what I expected, or
Yeah, yeah. At the end, sometimes it's just like, whoa, I made that. It's amazing.
nice. So I had a question for Martin earlier when we were talking about the flow that Carla brought up. I noticed that you were like, so how do you feel whenever you're working on your art? Like, do you have a particular state of flow? Or does that not even happen? You just kind of like, you're focused, you know when you have to go eat, you know when you have to go to the restroom and stuff like that, or is it you're lost in it as you work on it?
Yeah, I kind of get like, I always play music when I paint, and I
Okay.
kind of just like get into like a high energy like flow and just start doing it. Sometimes I paint like 6 paintings a night, just
Oh,
you
wow.
know. So yeah,
Well, thank you, Thomas.
yeah.
Martin, that question same for you.
Yes, so usually when I paint in about it usually okay, so I paint in intervals, right? How I said. Because to be honest, I get bored pretty quickly of doing the same thing for like a long amount of time. So I usually paint for like 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and then that's it for like weeks. And then I just pick it up again. Or I start another project and I either finish the smaller project first and then I continue on the bigger project. But yeah, I don't usually go on for hours, like for 8 hours and paint. No, yeah, no. I don't
Nice.
think I would be able to do that. Yeah.
If you get hungry, craving something, go eat. So the same question, Eugenio, do you have a particular flow? Like, do you feel that flow whenever you're working on your art? Do you forget to do stuff that you should be doing while you're doing your work?
Well, over the years, I have evolved because when I was younger, I used to have this kind of feverish uh, flow, and then work completely for hours and hours, and not only 3 or 4 drawings, but many. And some of them they were just uh, prepared in order for being finished later, but the main ideas were there. So, but today I have a more control, disciplined way of working. I work when I have the light appropriate during the day, and then I write in the evening, and
Okay.
then I can work in several pieces at the same time. So it's a matter of more discipline, more control of your time, because time is goes very fast,
Right.
and
Hmm.
you have the need. It doesn't. You don't know where it comes from, but you have the need to do it, and you have to do it. That's it.
Right.
There's no other answer.
Thank you. Isabel?
Yes, I had a question for Martin. Did you want to go into a lot of your components of your drawing? I feel like I need a little bit of an explanation for a couple of the parts of it, the aspects of it. It's very interesting.
Okay. Yeah, sure. If you could put the image up so that I could
Well,
like
Yeah.
the first
I know we have two more artists, you and Alex and Bree, but just a quick
the first draft is like a
Eugenio,
skeleton, and then
um,
in the
can
second
you hear
part,
us?
huh?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. It's because that question was directed to Martin. I was gonna put his
Sorry.
piece of work. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up. Go ahead, Martin.
okay. So I'm gonna try and do this as quickly as possible because last time that I explained it to someone, it took me like 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So let's start with the bottom left with the rats. So actually, I edited that because it was too graphic. I don't know if you guys want to see like the actual image. It's of it's like a well, it's basically the rat. Um it's like raping the bottom rat. It's very graphic. And basically, so the bottom rat is blind. It's weak. It's like it can't fend for itself, right? And this is just a metaphor of like how society tends to undermine and abuse its underprivileged populations, and also just about it also touches topics such as sexual deviancy and rape and stuff like that. That all stems from basically sexual addiction and just addicted to pleasure, right? So then we can go ahead and move on to the bottom right, which
Yeah, I'm
has the
curious.
cake.
I'm curious about the cake and the pills.
Yeah. So the cake and the pills, it's basically okay. So the cake, like who doesn't love cake, right? It's sugary, it's delicious. Like everyone likes cake. If you don't like cake, then you're not human. I don't know. So yeah, so that's basically the cake. It's kind of also has to do with like reference. It also references like the fake quotes of Mary Antoinette, which isn't really something that she said about you can't have enough cake or whatever. Uh, give them cake. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the cherries, the little like candied cherries on the top, they're I mean they're just candy, but they're like supposed to kind of look bloody and stuff like that. It's supposed to be like a delicious looking cake, but it's also like gory, etc. And so the pills, well, so you see here that there's a cake and it's sugary and stuff and sweet, right? And pills, so there's well, there's like placebo pills and stuff like that that are sugar pills basically. And they're known to basically cause the intended effect sometimes, and it's all psychological. And it also has to do with the actual addiction that people can get from like, well, like pill addiction and stuff like that, and just drugs, etc. So that just has to do with that. So then the eye, as you can see, both eyes that I have, they're directed towards, so one, okay, so the eyeballs, sorry.
Right.
One's directed towards the heart, and then the other one's directed towards like the pills. So the one that's directed towards the pills is like looking for something to numb the pain, the realness of the world. And the one that's looking at the heart, it's like kind of like it's supposed to symbolize the desire for something more real, something that feels more kind of like something that doesn't go away. Like with pills, it just makes you feel better for a certain amount of time. Like that eyeball wants something forever. Okay, so then we go on to so let me talk about the bubbles. So you can see that one of the eyeballs is being carried towards the heart by the bubbles, and the bubbles are supposed to symbolize the effervescence of life, of how fragile life is, that something can go wrong and it could basically all fall apart, just like a bubble. One pops, and then the rest might pop, etc. So then we can go on towards the chameleons that I have. As you can see, they're also pointing. I have a lot of field lines towards the heart, like the rat as well,
Right.
and the mouse on top.
Yeah.
So everything basically, it's trying to point towards the heart. The heart is like the heart symbolizes everything good that you want in life, success, love, happiness, everything that could make you feel whole. And so these chameleons, they're supposed to represent basically like artists in society that they're like they're just looking at, kind of like studying this life that they envision but that they might never have, because I don't know if this happens to other artists, but I feel like if you're an artist you will never be fulfilled, I guess, because you can't stop like looking at things and like seeing how this could be better, etc. So that's what the chameleons represent. And then the butterflies, they represent like basically people that are kind of used to being manhandled. So the butterflies are delicate, right? They're beautiful. And you can see that they're drinking the blood of the hearts. And they want to get this, well, they're getting this type of they're getting the satisfaction of life, right? But they're not very like safe. Like you could see the chameleons are right there, you could eat them, etc. So this basically just ties into the fact of how certain people that are privileged in a way are viewed by others in a kind of nasty, addictive, and like compulsive, like I want this, I need to have this, so I must destroy this kind of way because I can't have it. And then the cupcake, it's the same thing with with the uh with the cake at the bottom. It's just representing like sugar and like how society wants everything to be sweet and stuff like that. So then we can go up to the top with the fetuses. So we have a human fetus on the top right, and we have 3 rat fetuses with a spirit hand, which is actually my hand. I don't know if you could see that I have a birthmark in the center of my palm.
Yeah.
So I always like to implement things about myself in my artwork. So that hand is part of me in that artwork. Also, the blue eyes, the painted over eyes, those are my eyes. And then the eyeballs are also my eyes. Um, okay, so back to what I was saying. Sorry, I got sidetracked. So the rat fetuses, they're the product of the rat rape that's going on the bottom. And so the soul hands, I'm gonna call it the soul hands. It's kind of connected to these uh fetuses that haven't been born yet, and they're just giving life to something that is a product of a not desired situation, of something that is unfortunate, right? But you can't always how do you say it, eliminate these situations, and it just happens. And basically it's supposed to symbolize that the cycle repeats itself. So yeah. And then the fetus is just another representation of the rats, but it's making it more human in the way. And it ties in with the human hand that's holding the heart, even though it's being stabbed by the dagger. The necessity for humans to stick to that life and to want that life, no matter what. Okay, so then we can go on to the skeleton hand. So this is where my message of death comes to play. That sorry, in reality, the only thing that can give you peace and and everything like that is death. Like once your life passes, you don't have to worry about all the like little things in life that make you unhappy. Like death just stops all of that and gives you eternal peace per se. So that's symbolic to that. And so then we can go on to the dagger. As you can see, like the ruby thing on the dagger is emitting this colorful light that also has to do with the meaning of death, that death isn't always this black emptiness. What if it's like full of color and vibrant, etc.? And then over there at the top you could see like a talon of like a raptor, like an eagle or an owl, and it's going in at the mouse, and the mouse represents the really good, well-intentioned people that are this close to getting everything that the heart has to offer. But then there's always this bigger person who's not necessarily bigger in the sense of like being better, but bigger as in has like more power, that comes in and stops that from happening. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
So that's so that's the meaning of that. And so, okay, so I guess you could see how all of this ties into addiction, and how basically it just, there's always a solution to everything. And yeah, like in my opinion, everything becomes solved in a way. And so that's why I drew at the last minute. I decided to just put a slab of blue paint over the heart and then paint my eyes on it, just to see that if you really open your eyes to anything, anything can happen. And so yeah, that's
Thank you.
the meaning.
Thank you, Martin. That's a very good explanation.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a very busy piece. There's a lot going on. So, but it's nice how you were able to explain how it all ties together, and also its relation to like substance use. I kind of wanted to open it up to the audience, and see if they have any questions for the artist specifically. Um, yeah, if anyone has any questions, they can unmute their mics and ask the artist directly. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay. So,
Actually,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I wanted to ask Brianna what her,
Okay.
her feelings were behind her art piece. But I don't know if she's okay. Hi. Could you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Maya?
Sorry, it was the same question we had asked the other artists. So, what compels you to create, and specifically why this piece?
I'm definitely not an artist. I wouldn't say that, but like everyone else was talking about like creativity and just kind of putting your thoughts out there. To me, art is basically created to make someone feel something, right? And I feel really, I guess, heavy about the idea of substance use disorders and any mental health disorder in general. That's why I keep picking like these topics to talk about in Brain Awareness Week. To me, they're extremely interesting. Obviously, it has a lot to do with the brain, which makes it even more interesting to me, and how you can see this type of perception among each individual, right? So from the other art pieces that we had seen, like as they're describing their story, you get a little bit more of who they are as a person, right? And so, especially Marco's work, that's beautiful. It took forever for you to probably do. Well, you were saying, and it just really conveys that emotion, right? Even though you say like you had no plan to actually do it, I can tell from each of everybody's artwork, you basically put yourself onto the canvas. And for me, what I was doing with this one is just how I feel when I'm on Adderall. So a lot of people probably don't know this, but I do have ADHD. And so I am prescribed Adderall, and it's just how I feel when I'm on it. I'm constantly like, I guess I'm not myself. It's like this black and white image, and I'm just working and working and working, and you feel kind of caged in. And so, like, the mouths that are all there in color, that's basically like what I see outside the closed space. And so, I mean, I didn't really take that much thought into it. I just basically put down whatever I felt. And I thought the best way to describe what I felt was coming up with this. That's pretty much it.
I have a question on your piece specifically, Brie. Is this a bed? Like,
Bed.
yeah, a bed.
It's no, it's like a pillbox. It's just isolated
Oh,
in a little
okay.
pillbox.
Interesting. Okay, like my first I guess intuition on it was that it was a bed, and like I could feel myself like tossing and turning on the bed, like the different positions of the person on it. But I mean, I guess it's the same thing on a pill, like the whole tossing and turning. I mean, I don't know if that's how
Kind
you.
of restless. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then you have so much to do. You have like the books going on there, and all these little like things going on in your head, like the noises, the voices, maybe like deadlines, or like, for example, like organizing Brain Awareness Week.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, it's a really nice piece. Thank you for sharing and uploading it too.
Yes,
I'd like to see if I could jump in there for a second on that
Go
same
for it.
subject. Yeah, so this is the thing about visual arts, right? So as a visual artist, you are not there to explain a piece
Right.
to the audience.
Mhm.
This is you're not there, you cannot multiply yourself and be in front of the piece and explain what this piece is about. That's not
Yeah.
what visual arts is about. You
Mhm.
cannot
Yeah.
explain every single symbol and everything, you know,
No,
that
you're
is in the
absolutely
piece.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the it defeats the purpose.
Mhm.
If you want to explain it, if you want to talk about it, then be a poet, be a writer. You don't
I'm a
need visual
scientist, so
arts.
it's all good.
Yeah, you don't need visual arts. So that's the main mistake with the very young artists. They have to
Mhm.
explain their symbols.
Yeah.
And when you become a little bit more mature in the arts and you learn more, you will learn that you can easily explain something without any words. That's the magic of visual arts. You see, that's
Mhm.
that's that's into Alejandro's interpretation of this being a bed. You
Right.
see,
Mhm.
I cannot take that away from
No,
Alejandro.
that's exactly what I think art is about. It's
Exactly,
not about
exactly,
like explaining it. It's about making you feel something.
exactly. Because there's no words there.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
words.
exactly.
If there were words there, and you would say this is a pill, this is a pill vial, Alejandro's world would be gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
No, but yeah, so
That defeats the purpose of the art. And so
Yeah.
for me, I know if you look at my piece, man, you can go anywhere with it. And
Yeah.
I don't
uh-huh.
care where you go with it. I don't.
As long as you go.
There's no wrong answers. You
Right.
see?
No, you're
But
completely correct, and I stand by your stance on this.
yeah.
And the way that Alex had explained, that he thought this was a bed, it was something that, he was feeling when he saw this. Maybe at times he felt restless, like
Right.
he couldn't get sleep. It's
Exactly.
some of the busy work that we have to deal with.
Right.
And like for Martin, when I saw his and I saw the rats and then I saw the cake and I just thought of more of an addiction like that has to be related to like obesity.
Right.
But then I look at yours, Marco, and I saw the bandages, I saw like the background, and you're telling me like your story that you went to the Navy,
Right.
you have this like feeling that you have to heal people, and right when you were explaining it, I could see like you were putting yourself into that artwork. You all
Yeah.
say that you have to shift yourself
Right.
somewhere, and I can see it completely in the canvas and how you explained it, like very detailed, very beautifully. Like you put a part of yourself on it, and
Yeah.
that to me is even more powerful than anything.
Yeah, I mean, as an artist, you do things of as a necessity, right? But
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with other people's lives. Nothing.
Hmm.
We share a lot of very common things, right?
Mhm.
Very common things. If we share things from people from 500 years ago
Hmm.
and from people from 10,000 years ago and from
Right.
people within our time. And that's why, for me, I cannot assign what this symbol should be for these
Mhm.
people. That's why I never tell people, oh, this is supposed to symbolize this.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm not the only person in the room.
Right.
Once you have created a piece, you become detached to it. And
Mhm.
so
It's your
young
baby.
artists make the mistake if they're using symbolism to have to explain their work to, I don't know, validate themselves. But once you realize that you don't have to do that, then that's when the magic starts. As a visual artist, you need to shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You need to be quiet. You
Yeah.
need to
Well,
work to be strong enough to speak for itself.
right. Well, I'm about to upset you, Marco, because
Okay.
We're
for
about to ask him why he creates and what his. It's going to be contradicting to what you just said, but
Go ahead. I'm
um
okay
Alex,
with the
go ahead.
challenge. That's not a
so
problem.
so this particular piece, I submitted this, and this piece is not mine. Well, in no, it's not mine. It's my uncle's. He is in our panel as well. And he created a series called Spirals for Quetzalcoatl.
Mm.
And the whole symbolism behind it is that spirals are never ending. You have the no beginning, no end. Um, and it just continues going. So this little figure that's right close to the center, which it will never get to the center because there is no center. Um, it's it's human life just spiraling down this eternity, right? Um, so, and again, I'm saying I'm gonna upset you, Marco, because I'm already giving like kind of like
You don't upset me because this is a this
no,
is a this is a symbol that goes back to universal symbols,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
Joseph Campbell and those kind of things that don't need explanation. You see what I mean? But
yeah,
as a human being, you feel compelled to explain
yeah. And
your
that's actually
experience.
right. That's exactly why I submitted this
Yeah.
piece. My uncle, as he was saying, that we've been working on his work, on his art, and putting his website up and all this stuff. We or we came to this part of his art where he started telling me about all the spirals and that we needed to create a site where all of these spirals that he's made are set. And the first thought that came to my head when I saw this particular piece, it's I actually color coded it differently. And that's why I submitted it because it's like a little bit modified. Um, this particular piece has the symbolism to me, at least when I was going through my undergrad, is the whole downward spiral. I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan, and they have this album called Downward Spiral. And to me, addiction, when I was learning about what addiction was and what addiction could do to a human, was that it's this like never ending downward spiral that you try, like once you're hooked, like it's you kind of just go on steps and it just never ends. And that's what this image kind of spoke to me when we were talking about it, and that's why I submitted this. And to me, I felt like that little tiny human that's there, that little figure that's like burning down this spiral, because um, sometimes for people who do have a substance use disorder, it's very difficult to like it just feels like this rush, like just completely going down, and sometimes you just can't stop it. Like it's kind of going against what you
what you want, what you desire. Like again, some people were saying that it hurts your family, it hurts your community.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to share. And this, I mean, this is our last piece. We're probably running out of time already. We're 10 minutes over. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share on the piece that I submitted. So as a very last thing, I just wanted to thank all the artists for being part of this panel, and for being here, submitting their art and sharing with the world what they have, and being part of this Brain Awareness Week. Um, so if anyone has any other questions, oh yes, thank you, Maya. If you can go ahead and fill out this Google Doc, if you can find the link on the chat, it'll count your attendance, and it'll also, if you can please vote for the best piece that you want, that you thought was your favorite, so we can go ahead and award the artist the People's Choice Award. And for that award, we will be actually announcing it on Sunday at 2:00 for our awards day ceremony. We will be announcing all the winners for Loteria night, for trivia night, for this night, and all the other, I think everyone has been collecting points throughout the week, so whoever has the most points is also going to be getting those awards.
Prizes.
Yeah, those prizes. A lot of little neuroscience themed goodies, like little brains, pencils, and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you can go, please use that link. And
I just want to end with so the reason that I wanted to create some type of art show for brain awareness is because I wanted to feel something. Like I wanted to see what others that were either facing addiction or how they perceived it by, you know, having a friend going through it. So just to kind of let everyone know that art comes in many forms, but what its main point is that it's supposed to make people feel something. So I'm not going to discredit anybody's work. If you have like some kind of symbolism tied to it and we're seeing it, like I think we're seeing through your eyes. Like for instance, Martin's work, he gave us some sort of description on, you know, not fearing death. And so to me now, I'm trying to feel what Martin is talking about, you know?
Yeah.
With everybody's artwork, it is kind of a subjective, you know, like what Nico was saying in the chat, like art is art. It's not going to be explained, but if you have like a way to explain it, I just want to feel what you're feeling.
Right.
So
and I think also, oh, sorry, whenever you create something, like everyone was saying, all the artists were saying, you kind of get surprised by what you do. So you kind of also become that audience of your art. Like, even if you don't know what you were going to create at first, you kind of just become that audience. So,
yeah. I mean, I feel it with music. I'll hear a song lyric, even though it doesn't pertain to me at all. Like,
exactly.
And I just feel it, you know?
Right.
Not talking about Cardi B, Alex. Just kidding.
But
All right.
All right. Well,
Thank you
so
guys.
much, everyone. Yes. All the artists, again, thank you for participating in this. Martin, Marcos, Eugenio, Thomas, for being on this call. Bree.
Yes,
and
thank you, everyone. Yes.
yeah, pretty unfortunate that the other people weren't able to make it, but it's okay. They'll see it live.
There are a
I
couple
really
other
like
artists' paintings. I'm sorry. There are a couple other paintings that the artists were not able to attend. So just there are other choices as well.
Yes, check them out on that link.
Yeah, and
on Facebook and Instagram.
I also want to add, you know, the reason why I did this is because I've always focused on psychology in my work, and I've always felt like it's a very important part of my life, you know. And if I didn't do that for myself, I don't think I would be alive this, you know, today.
Right.
And right now I have a very important person in my life that is in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, she doesn't know how to deal with this yet because she's very young, you know. And but art has always been, no matter how you see it, it doesn't matter, you know, in terms of like, oh, you know, this is the didactic way to see it, this is the rationale way to see it, etc., etc. Art can always be a way out, you know, a very,
Exactly.
very helpful way to cope, and then to kind of get out of your situation
Right. Kind
without
of.
having to, yeah, without having to rely on pills, alcohol, whatever it may be, sex, you know. There's a lot of different ways to cope with it, right?
Right.
But those are all temporary problems.
Mhm.
I've dealt with this stuff since I was 5 years old, you know, and I'm still alive, right? And I'm still making art. And
Right.
so it doesn't matter which way you're doing, the way Martin is doing it, the way, you know, Isabella, any of you all are doing it, is we need that, because it's a creative way, right? It's like, it's the alternative to a pill,
Right.
chemistry, to something alien to our nature.
Right. It's
Right.
that dopamine. It's that dopamine.
Yeah, it's our own internal thing that we use. And
Right.
so that's the reason why I did it, because, you know, I care about my health, and I continue to work on my health. um and man, you know, it's been my savior. If it
Right.
weren't for art, I would never be, you know, a great cardiologist. I would never be a good professor. I would never do any of that stuff. You see
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that's the thing I share with all of you guys, with Martin, with Isabella, with all of, with Alejandro, all of you all. We
Thank-
have a certain ground that we can be like, okay, you know,
Right.
like, let's make some shit.
Make some shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Marco. Thank you, everyone, again. And we're going to go ahead and stop the live stream. I'm going to go ahead and stop it now. So again, thank you very much. And